I wasn't allowed in the village because I hadn't got accreditation, you know. But I done the going to the hospital to see Christy and getting them know what was happening, different things. But it was a fantastic team when you think that we had 6 boxers who came out from Ireland but no coach. And we had a lad called Pat Sharkey who was working in Australia, and he boxed for Ireland. He came down from Queensland. He worked on one of the big dam projects, construction, and he came down. So we had 7 in the Olympics.
Harry Perry, Martin Smith and Pat Sharkey all went out in the early rounds. And even though he won his first bout, it looked like John Caldwell was also going to make an early exit from the games.
The doctor looked at Johnny and he said, "Sorry son, you're out. You're not boxing anymore in these championships." And I'll never forget Johnny's face. Tears were coming out through the closed eyelids. The eyes were closed. And I said to the doctor, because Johnny was a flyweight, he was on early, and there was still 2 hours of boxing. And I said to the doctor, "Would you come back in 2 hours' time and see what you think, you know?" And I remember going out, taking Johnny's towel and going out to a lady. She was selling cold drinks. She had Coke bottles with ice underneath. So I gave her 50 pence for the towel full of ice. Brought it back into the dressing room, and we spent the next 2 hours putting it on Johnny's face, trying to get the swelling down, you know. Doctor came in at the end and looked, oh, see, that's a big improvement.
Caldwell was allowed to box on and went on to win a bronze medal. His exploits were matched by Freddie Gilroy and Tony Byrne. A team of just 7 boxers with their manager in hospital had won 3 bronze medals, and there was Fred Teat to come.
The welterweights. 2 new nations to the fore. Fred Teat of Ireland in the white shorts.
He was to box the Romanian Nicolae Lincha for gold.
Time and time again, the clever Irishman has Lincha moving back, but the Romanian's counterboxing is first class.
The fight would go down as one of the great injustices in Irish sport.
Under the rules, and I just have a copy here, there's a criteria. If you can't give a draw. The 2 judges that gave it a draw had to give a winner. And the first 2 things on the criteria is for most leading off and showing better style. That should have been Fred Teat.
The judge's decision went to Lincha, and he became the first Romanian ever to win a boxing gold medal. Lincha first, Teat second, Kevin Hogarth, Australia, and Nicky Cargano of Great Britain equal third.
1956 remains to this day the greatest year in Ireland's Olympic Games history. Not only did Ronnie Delaney outrun the best in the world to pick up the gold medal in the 1500 metres, but the boxers piled up an astonishing tally of 4 medals.
It was a tremendous feat to bring home so many medals from an Olympic Games. It also copper-fastened the self-confidence that the boxing community had in their own talents and in their own ability to produce results, irrespective of what the lack of funding and the lack of resources that always plagued the association itself.
Despite his silver medal in Melbourne, Fred Teat will always be remembered by Irish amateur boxing fans as one half of the greatest rivalry the sport in Ireland has witnessed. After one of their battles, Perry followed Teat to his corner and said, "We'll have to give this up, Fred. We're killing each other."
England versus Ireland at the Albert Hall under ABA rules.
Tony Byrne returned from Melbourne and further enhanced his reputation in one of the most talked about fights of the era. Just after the games were over, he fought the Olympic champion, the great Dick McTaggart, on his own patch in London and beat him with some ease.
Before long, he has McTaggart on his knees, but not for the full count. Dick's tougher than that.
That was a big fight on television. Not too many televisions in Drogheda at that time, in the 50s, so we all got the black and white to see Tony Stocks in the Albert Hall beating McTaggart, and that was wonderful.
Altogether, a mighty near thing, but it ends in a points victory for the battering bakery salesman from Ireland, Tony Byrne.
DVDsales.ie for the best in Irish comedy on DVD.
1957
DVD. You might think there's very little we can do to make the world's best-selling car, the Toyota Corolla, any more popular. Well, what about 3 years free servicing when you register any new Toyota by January 31st? Yes, that's 3 years free servicing on all our cars, including the Corolla. Toyota, the best-built cars in the world.
Take advantage of some great trading opportunities and open yourself up to a new world of opportunities. Profit from rising and falling markets in currencies, oil, gold and stock indices with Ava FX. Multiple trading platforms to suit all levels of experience. Open an account at avafx.com today and get access to our free educational program. Practice accounts also available. Ava Capital Markets, Ava FX is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Trading carries risk and may not be suitable for all investors.
Hair loss is a medical condition and correcting this has nothing to do with being vain. Hair loss can be permanently corrected and is now accessible and affordable.
The Artenovi Clinic specializes in the FUE procedure or follicle unit extraction. FUE avoids scarring and allows you back to work in a matter of days. We deliver state-of-the-art hair restoration services at affordable prices.
I trusted my team to correct my hair loss.
Sam 11, the official GAA DVD How Dublin won the All-Ireland final. Relive the full match plus bonus film 6 Steps to Sam. Exclusive interviews with Pat Gilroy, Brian Cullen, Bernard Brogan and more.
Now when Galway went in, there's a feeling about the place, something special is going to happen.
16 years in the making. Sam 11, DVD on sale, retail and online now.
My accident was on a Monday. I went into work. I was a social worker and I had a lot on my mind. The next day was my graduation. I don't know what happened. Just from what I was told, about 2 o'clock, I was driving and bang. It's like part of me died that day. I can never accept this. Never. You can take your mind off the road for a split second, but that's all it takes, that split second.
DVDsales.ie for the best in GAA on DVD.
After the Olympics, Freddie Gilroy and John Caldwell turned pro, and between them won British, Commonwealth, European and world titles. It was inevitable that the former roommates at the Melbourne Games would eventually fight each other as professionals.
Blinding.
And it turned into as bloody a spectacle as was ever witnessed in a ring.
The world was worried about the Cuban Missile Crisis and the impending Third World War, where being Belfast, of course, their own two superpowers, John Caldwell and Freddie Gilroy, were boxing at the King's Hall that October night. One hero from West Belfast, one hero from North Belfast, two men who had travelled the world and roomed together, ultimately came together in the professional boxing field for what was a grudge match.
I went up with two lads from my club, the McCormick brothers, but I was sad looking at it because they really hammered one another.
I have seen a lot of damaged boxers in this ring, but I've never seen the like of it in my life. Both boys are spattered with blood. Their faces are hardly visible behind a mask of blood.
Even prior to the fight, every night you looked at the paper, it was about the fight. You know, the two local boys, what's going to happen, how they're going to prepare for the fight. It ended up, I forgot all about papers, reading papers about the fight, and concentrated on how I was going to defend my title and win it and keep my titles. John, I felt, read the papers too much.
And still they come in for more.
Any fight, I went to Mass in the morning of the fight. And I asked for guidance and for no injury to come to my opponent or myself. But when I got into the ring, I probably hurt him, he hurt me. But that is boxing.
It seems doubtful. Oh, it's doubtful if Caldwell can finish on this round. He is a mess. Even Gilroy feels ashamed to carry on.
To me, it wasn't boxing because there was a tension there, you know, and I thought myself at the time they go through the whole boxing career from school by level and you end up fighting, not boxing, fighting, you know, shouldn't have happened, you know.
Well, there it is, the end of the 9th round. Johnny Caldwell with a very badly cut eye, and Andy Smith, the referee, goes over to the Gilroy and has declared him the winner. So Freddie Gilroy, Empire and British bantamweight champion, has retained his titles.
Belfast's reputation for producing world-class fighters was further enhanced with the emergence of Jim McCourt in the early 60s. McCourt fought out of the Immaculata Club in the Lower Falls district of West Belfast.
John Caldwell was in the same club as me, and he was at the 56 Olympics. I remember saying, which was me, and Freddie Gilroy was there too, and Fred Teat, and I was just sort of daydreaming that I was maybe sometime in making the Olympic team, so.
The Japanese demonstrated their superb efficiency and organising ability, and with the aid of television, the Games made their greatest ever impact on the world.
McCourt was selected for the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo, and by the quarter-final stage, he was the last Irishman standing. He guaranteed himself a bronze at the very least by beating the Spaniard Barrera. Then it was on to the semi-final and the fight with the Russian Baranikov.
I didn't really think about the medal, actually. I was more interested in fighting the Russian. Prior to me, he knocked his 4 opponents out, including Janis Katie, who was the reigning European champion. The judges' scores, and you can check it up, 3 judges made it 59-59. 2 judges gave it to me 60-58, and 3 59-59s had to give the decision, and they gave it to the Russian. So that's how close it was. The Russian, in turn, he got a bad decision in the final against the Pole, Joseph Grudzian. And then Ireland fought Poland about 6 months later, and I fought Grudzian and beat him handily enough.
Jim McCourt was part of the Ireland team that travelled to the Mexico Olympics 4 years later, but was surprisingly beaten in his first fight.
And procedure has got in, and so Jim McCourt, who won a bronze medal in Tokyo in 1964, is out of these Olympics in his first bout.
With the team's most experienced campaigner out of the competition, Ireland's hopes of a medal rested on a young squad, including 19-year-old Martin Quinn.
I moved to Belfast, and then I joined up with the John Bosco Club in Belfast, Freddie Gilroy's club. Watching Freddie training, and we always trying to copy of him, and he was a southpaw, I was also left-handed, so I was a southpaw. We was just watching, trying to throw the same punches he was throwing. After the seniors at Boxing against West Germany in Dublin, and then they picked the Olympic team that Sunday to go to Mexico. And I can remember up in my bedroom and listening to their small radio ahead, and the team was being announced, and when I heard my name over the radio, it was, oh my goodness. I came down into what we call the kitchen then, and told my mother and father I was going to the Olympic Games, and it was just in a cloud, I went out into the street and was telling my neighbours, I'm going to Mexico, I'm going to the Olympics, it was a marvellous experience, to get picked to box for your country,
The flame bursts into life, and the signal goes around the world that this 19th celebration of the modern games is underway.
It took 11 hours flying time now, and we got on the KLM flight, I can remember well, but it was very tiring when we got there, getting to the village. And I can remember just clocking out, top of the bed, and waking up the next day, and there I was, looking out the window in the village, and it was a tremendous, watching all the different tracksuits in different countries, walking about, and marvellous experience,
Another of the Olympic debutants in 1968 was a young fighter from Kilkenny in his first major international tournament.
I'd only about 2.5 years experience in boxing. But I earned that trip to the Mexico Olympics because here at this stadium I boxed Horst Rascher, who was the European champion from Germany, and I beat him. And that win, along with a few other good performances, that guaranteed me my place on the Mexico Olympic team. And that was a fantastic experience. Two of my clubmates came with me. Brendan McCarthy, one of the best flyweights to ever grace the ring here at the stadium. Eddie Tracy at featherweight, another brilliant boxer. So Arbor Hill Club at that time, wearing black and amber, my old county's colours actually, Kilkenny. Three of us went to the Mexico Olympic Games, and that was absolutely outstanding for a club. And it so happened we were flyweight, bantamweight and featherweight.
Dowling is only 19. He works in a Dublin hotel as a waiter. Number 178. Keep your eye on this right hand of Dowling, because it can do damage. It's a good punch.
Mick Dowling's Olympic career got off to some start by stopping the East German boxer in the first round.
What a chance here for Dowling now. Oh, and there it is again.
He eventually got through to the quarter-final, where he just missed out on a bronze medal, losing a close decision to Morioka, the Japanese boxer. Meanwhile, Marty Quinn got his tournament off to a similarly dramatic start.
So it's Martin Quinn of Ireland, the bout at lightweight. His opponent is Sambo Bernard of the Cameroons. Oh, that's two good right hands to Bernard. He's got Bernard in trouble in this first round, belting him away to the body, left and right hand, and Bernard goes down in the corner in the first. He's in awful trouble.
When I beat the fella from the Cameroons, that gave me a good buzz there, and I could lift. And then when I was strong against Grudgin from Poland, Jim McCourt knew him well because he was the gold medalist. Jim got the bronze in Tokyo that year, and Grudgin got the gold.
Oh, what a good left-handed he's got with the six champion on the floor at the very end of this bout.
It was a cracking punch, and I look at it and I say, my goodness. And with him being so groggy and falling about and that, he was hurt, you know.
There can only be seconds to go, and Grugin is in trouble from Martin Quinn of Ireland.
Even though I did put him down in the third round and messed it up by not going to the neutral corner quick enough. And I can remember Eddie Thompson telling me he counted 18 seconds wasted before the referee got the count, taken up the count. So, you know, when he did get up, he was groggy, he was crawling about. The referee just waved it in the box. And as soon as I moved in, the bell went. So he was actually saved by the bell, really, you know.
Well, despite that knockdown, Grugin is the winner and goes through to the quarterfinals. But what a display by the Irishman.
I'm sorry I didn't go back and train and make my sights on Munich in '72, because I feel I could have got there, the Munich Olympics. But I was so mixed up then, because then what happened was my house was burned in '69 with the troubles in Belfast, and all my trophies were burned, and my competitors' medal, and all my photographs, and you know, my mother died shortly after that, which didn't help me any, and then her brother too passed away young. Things just, boxing just was, I just total lost interest in it, you know.
Marty Quinn's teammate in Mexico, Mick Dowling, did box on, and he built one of the most remarkable careers in Irish amateur boxing. A record number of national titles was capped with 2 bronze medals at European Championships. And after the fighting was over, Dowling became an integral part of the Drimna boxing story. A story that would eventually end the country's long, long wait for that elusive Olympic boxing gold.
DVDsales.ie for the best in Irish comedy on DVD.
Someone needs a number. Need a number nifty? Call 11850.
Oh, come on, Tom. Where are they? Go on, just one little clue.
Everyone wants to know where the Bulmer's golden apples are. 17 golden apples hidden inside special Bulmer's Christmas packs. Find one and you'll win €2,500 for you and €2,500 for your local community, ensuring more than just you will have a great Christmas. Bulmer's original Irish cider, doing our bit this Christmas.
Hair loss is a medical condition and correcting this has nothing to do with being vain. Hair loss can be permanently corrected and is now accessible and affordable.
The Artinovi Clinic specializes in the FUE procedure or follicle unit extraction. FUE avoids scarring and allows you back to work in a matter of days. We deliver state-of-the-art hair restoration services at affordable prices.
I trusted my team to correct my hair loss.
Every week, the Sunday World fields the best team on paper, with legends Dennis Irwin, Charlie Nicholas, John Aldridge, playing alongside John Brennan, Roy Curtis, Kevin Palmer, Ken Lawrence, and Jimmy McGee. Comment, analysis, and the inside track on the big clubs. Interviews, scores, and all the stats. For top soccer coverage every week, don't miss the Sunday World. The Sunday World, a real Irish Sunday.
And it's all gotta go! At Harvey Norman, we're cutting prices until Christmas Eve. Christmas bargains too good to miss. Choose from our large range of small screen TVs, portable DVD players, stylish headphones and Blu-ray players, laptops, netbooks, digital cameras, great gift ideas like coffee machines, hair stylers and men's shavers, sat-navs, games, tablets and MP3 players. See harveynorman.ie for our incredible Christmas bargains and our extra opening hours. Must in Christmas Eve. Don't miss out. Ho, Harvey, ho! Go!
DVDsales.ie for the best in GAA on DVD.
September 1972, the Munich Olympic Games.
The Olympic Council of Ireland has always seen itself as representing the island rather than the state. It's been a contentious issue, especially in sports such as track and field and cycling. But in the boxing ring, there's never been any doubt. From the day the IABA was founded, amateur boxing in Ireland has been resolutely a 32-county sport. Ireland's six-man boxing team that travelled to Munich in 1972 was made up of 3 fighters from the south and 3 from the north.
I see 2 more just arrived here, and let's move down a little bit here. And it's the 2 boys from Derry. Charlie Nash, how are you, Charlie?
How do you know?
And Neil McLaughlin, how are things?
Yeah. Oh, going pretty well, you know.
You always seem to me the coolest of all the boxers. He's as cool as ever.
Well, I hope so. I don't know until I get in the ring, you know.
The Munich Olympics in 1972 brought the whole issue of sports and politics onto a global stage. 11 Israeli athletes and coaches were kidnapped and then killed by Palestinian gunmen as the sound of gunfire resounded around the Olympic Village. For Ireland's boxers, especially those from the north, it was a grim reminder of home.
I remember when the shooting was going on, our lads were able to sit there and they were sitting in the middle of the square listening, and they were able to say right away, you know, that's SLRs, that's not starting pistols, and they knew. And it was sad, very sad.
The resumption of the Troubles in 1969 brought a sudden end to most sports in Belfast. But the amateur boxers fought on.
Yes, indeed, a clear-cut win for Hugh Russell from Belfast.
Even through the worst of the violence, the IABA managed to maintain the sport as a 32-county entity.
Dave Larmour of Northern Ireland.
Boxers from the north represented Northern Ireland at the Commonwealth Games and then donned an Irish vest to box for Ireland in the internationals.
At the National Stadium, the lightest weight always carried the flag. In those days, I was the flyweight, so I carried the flag. Even though it was a tricolour, it didn't matter to me. I've said before, it could have been the skull and crossbones. I wouldn't give it fiddlers, you know, my flag.
As Belfast became scarred with checkpoints and barbed wire, the boxing clubs that had thrived in the city found themselves on the front line of the sectarian violence.
It was a dangerous place, and there's no doubt about it. This area would have been known as the Murder Mile. There was more murders committed in this area on the Antrim Road and around North Belfast than anywhere else in the province. This club never closed one night from 1969 right through. Every night we were open for the kids, and the kids travelled in here from the Lake of the Shankill Road, from the Tigers Bay, from Gilnahirk. Now they were what you'd call loyalist areas, for by the Republican areas of the New Lodge, West Belfast, and Leganneil, Ardoyne, they all boxed here.
Oh, Larmour has got it. Well, that's a gold for Northern Ireland.
I came from a loyalist area, Shankill Road. I trained in the Holy Family Boxing Club for donkey's years. I was the Holy Family's flyweight, went away with them every year to Bournemouth, national tournaments. And I'd met loads of guys that probably were in the Republican movement, and never had I got any animosity or any threat towards me. I had some of my hardest fights going back to where I lived than coming over to the New Lodge Road. You expect that, but I got maybe insulted going back. What are you going over there to train for? Everybody knew who I was at the time. It was my sport, and it was what I wanted to do. And if it meant me going to Afghanistan or somewhere, I'd have went to Afghanistan for boxing, you know.
The part that played throughout the Troubles in keeping a lot of kids out of the hands of, say, the paramilitaries at the time, and keeping them focused on their own sport, it was something, it was an escape for people, escape for children. It kept them dedicated to a sport that kept going throughout the whole Troubles, while perhaps the world or the society was falling apart outside. And boxing should hold its head up within this city for the role it has played. And, you know, it was a beacon light there throughout the whole time of the Trouble.
That light somehow managed to pervade into the very heart of darkness, as boxing engendered a common cause behind the barbed wire walls of the H blocks.
I was the only one invited up into the prisons in Longcase to train the paramilitaries on both sides. We had the ARA, we had the provost, we had the UVF and the UDA and the official ARA. And if they couldn't get me, it wasn't on. Because remember, at that stage they weren't recognising the governor or anybody else in the prisons. And it was just after Bobby Sands had died. I was in one of the compounds, and they'd be asking me how the boys would have been doing, how they doing, how the boys getting on. Well, what they meant by how the boys getting on, that was how was the provost getting on. So I was telling them, look, I'm having problems because I can't get the right stuff, my right gear in to work with them, so I'm having problems with them. And they said to me, Jerry, listen, take our gear down, we'll lend them our gear. Say that was a Monday. As long as you have it back here, and as long as I have it back here for you coming in on Wednesday. You know, so I'd say both sides at one another and killing each other on the outside. But on the inside, they were lending their gear to provincials, vice versa. It's marvellous.
Amateur boxing in Dublin at this time saw the emergence of Drimna as a real force.
Well, here we are at the boxing session of the St. John Bosco Boys Club. in Spurren Road, Drimna.
The club's roots went back to the St John Bosco Centre, set up to look after the youth of an area which had seen a massive housing programme in order to alleviate the overcrowding in Dublin's inner city. Boxing flourished in Drimna, and it didn't hurt that the club coach was one of the great names in Irish boxing, Frankie Kerr.
He was a very mild-mannered, quiet man. He wasn't suave or boastful about his achievements. But yeah, I found it amazing when we would be out occasionally in the city that so many people seemed to know him and be aware of who he was.
That's it, yeah, good man.
Maybe that came about because of his coaching career, and he had started coaching boxing on the television also in the early days of RTE.
Yeah, I change it over. That's the idea. There's nothing to it. Now that's how you skip.
It's easy when you know how, isn't it, Frankie?
Sure.
When you learn the right way, in other
Sure,
words.
it's an easy way to do it.
It was fantastic as a young lad to have that situation where your father seemed to be respected, although he didn't encourage me to go into the boxing too much, which was probably wise, very wise on his part, in that, you know, I think he saw that I hadn't got the attributes. Maybe I was a bit of a coward from the beginning to make any progress at boxing.
He was throwing a long...
Drimna's fortunes were boosted when Ireland's most successful boxer of the era hung up his gloves.
That's why I was slipping in there.
Be careful or I might lay one on you.
I never really walked away from the sport, and a lot of boxers do, and some come back in time afterwards. But I was straight into it, and I was coaching at Drimna. It was a wonderful club. Had a lot of help there with other coaches as well. But yes, I took over the senior coaching in the club and took over Phil Sutcliffe, who was a very, very good fighter.
Hard-hitting Phil Sutcliffe, the Drimna club in Dublin.
We always fought on the street, like you had to protect yourself, especially when I had four brothers at that time. I kind of had to protect them all, you know what I mean, against, we just say rivalry. It was a thing that everyone kind of, best at football, best at cycling the bikes, best at boxing, you know, you want to do the best.
There's that big right hand from Sutcliffe again. Park comes back and runs into more trouble.
Phil would have been a real role model and a real fella you would aspire to become in that regard. That Philip was a senior champion, and when senior champions were worshipped.
Mick Dowling sending his protege into the ring for the third and final round.
My God, he had some wonderful heart. He would train. If you asked him to stand on his head for an hour in the corner, he wouldn't say why. He would just go and do it. And as a result, he had fantastic success.
Yes, with a majority vote, Sutcliffe gets there.
Mick Dowling had won 2 European bronze medals in the late 60s and early 70s, after which Ireland had a pretty lean period in major tournaments. But under Dowling's tutelage, Phil Sutcliffe was about to break that barren spell.
It was a big thing for Irish boxing at that time, because I don't think anyone had won anything since Mick Dowling. And him being my coach and then me coming on top at that time, it was kind of it was a double joy for especially for the Drimna Boxing Club.
Philip was really the role model and the bench. He set the bench to what we all wanted, and obviously he was an Olympian, and Mick Dowling before him in Drimna Boxing Club was an Olympian as well. But when I hit the 16 stage in my life, I said, I'm going to be the next one out of this club to go to the next Olympic Games, and I made a solemn promise to myself that I was going to be the next one.
DVDsales.ie for the best in Irish comedy on DVD.
You've already switched to electricity for many things. So why not for travelling? The new Renault ZE range. 100% electric.
Gucci Guilty Intense, the new fragrances for him.
And for her.
Good morning across the country, and this one is for Mr. Johnny Burns from the girls back at base.
It's so important to make someone happy. Make just one someone happy. Make just one heart-to-heart you. You sing to one smile that cheers you, one face that lights when it nears you, one girl you're everything to.
At Vodafone, we know it's the little things we all do at Christmas that make us happy. Visit us in-store or online and see all the little things we're doing to help you make someone happy this Christmas. Vodafone. Power to you.
Happy too.
Anyone of age, 6-inch subs and a drink for just €4.50.
All day, every day.
How is this possible?
The Subway €4.50 lunch deal. Genius!
DVDsales.ie for the best in GAA on DVD.
Major tournaments like the Olympic Games and the European Championships remain the preserve of the elite few. But from the formation of the IABA back in 1911, for the rank-and-file club fighters, the event, year in, year out, is the National Championship. Every season, tournaments are staged around the country with seniors and juniors of all weights, slugging it out to get to the finals in Dublin.
When we went to Dublin, we were like the little Gabian coming up from the west. We were looking up at Nelson's Pillar, you see, that type of thing. And it was frightening, you see. And unless you stretched from above in Dublin, you get nothing. You had to be on the floor flat, and that was it.
When you won something up in Dublin, you were the man. And everybody around our area, around Limerick, of course, would be cheering you on and wishing you the best of luck. And, you know, Sunday morning, you might be doing an hour session of train, you get the older guys that come down and they're watching you and excites the situation, you know, and you think you're the be-all and end-all. But, you know, it was fantastic.
One of the extraordinary feats in Irish boxing was the achievement of the three Crystal brothers, Terry, Mel and Joe, who all won senior Irish championships at the National Stadium on the same night, while all three were students at Trinity College.
And I would imagine that's the end of it. Yes, the referee has come to the second round. Irish heavyweight Mel Crystal scoring in round 2, referee stopping the contest.
It was special because you had people who are now, you know, orthopedic consultants, veterinary surgeons, people who have doctorates in English, in French, who were all training with you. And while they were there, they were not thinking as academics, they were thinking as athletes. And they gave 100% and loved it.
The university had a great tradition in the sport, and when the Crystal brothers were boxing there, it helped that the club coach was an Olympic silver medalist.
Fred, who won his silver medal in 1956, 20 years later, in 1976, he would skip non-stop for 1 hour. That was a level of fitness which we never experienced. And fortunately, Fred saw in us the willingness to literally sup at his fountain of knowledge and use it in our careers as boxers.
And he says, box on.
The Crystal brothers won their championships during the build-up to the Olympic Games in Moscow in 1980. They could have formed the nucleus of that team.
Well, there's a prospect for you for international boxing. At middleweight, Terry Crystal.
But this was a time when amateur boxing in Ireland was struggling on the international stage. And the Crystals had very different ideas to the hierarchy of the IABA as to the reasons why.
The Irish International Amateur Boxing Team was training in a place called the Ordinary Hotel in Drogheda. And the sparring was for the internationals was between themselves, literally. There was no funneling of different sparring partners. At that time, we were told, be in the Ordinary Hotel on the blank day of blank, otherwise you will not be considered for Moscow. And that was so ridiculous, we decided no.
Jerry Story coached the Irish team that competed at the Munich, Montreal and Moscow Olympics. Munich and Montreal were very much tales of near misses, but the team selected for Moscow in 1980 travelled with real optimism. In its ranks was a 19-year-old from Clonus, who 2 years previously had become the youngest fighter ever to win a Commonwealth gold.
McGuigan has got it, and I don't think he can believe it.
It was an instant love affair, myself and boxing, because I got my dad to bring me to the nearest boxing club, which was 9 miles away, in a place called, the club was called Wattlebridge, ABC. We went out about 5-6 times and nobody turned out. And I was just about to give up, and we saw a guy walking along the road with a rucksack on his back. And he had like a black eye, and I thought, well, we've got a chance here. This is bound to be a boxer. And he was a guy called Little, and I can't remember what his first name was. But I went into the Wattlebridge club and saw all the gear, and the smell of the gym. I just got immediately attracted to it. I said, this is definitely for me.
This is Barry McGuigan boxing at these Olympics, and boxing like a real star. There's a beautiful right hand, and the referee steps in to give him a count.
I enjoyed woodwork at school, and we used to take our little pieces of work home with us. I remember writing down the little wooden top that I'd made. I remember writing on the bottom of it, Olympic gold medal, Moscow 1980. That's what I want to do.
McGuigan lost a disputed decision to Wilfred Kabunda in the second round, and it pretty much signalled the end of his days in the amateur ranks. Before the year was out, McGuigan had signed on as a professional with Barney Eastwood, and the rest is history.
Zaragoza it is. The Mexican has put the young Irishman, 20-year-old Phil Sutcliffe.
With McGuigan and the rest of the Irish team bowing out in the early rounds, Ireland's hopes of a first Olympic medal since Jim McCourt in 1964 rested with Belfast flyweight Hugh Russell.
Hugh Russell will tell the story that in 1980, when he fought in Moscow, rioting stopped on the streets of the New Lodge for 20 minutes when his fights were on.
And the runs were caught there by a good combination from the young Irishman.
I think everybody that goes thinks he can get a medal, otherwise you wouldn't be picked.
3 more minutes to go, and if he wins this one, he's in the medal stage.
You need a wee bit of luck too. Maybe luck's not the right word, because I say to people, I was lucky, and people say, well, you were lucky more than once. So, I mean, fortunate. You need to get the right draw. You need to have the right people around you that can control you and look after you.
Hugh Russell, Irlandia. He was a bit lucky, but he wins nevertheless. A good win for Hugh Russell, so he's in the medal stage.
I was very fortunate that I brought my club coach. Jerry Story was my club coach, who was also the national coach. So wee small things like that mean a lot to a fighter. So he was able to come with me and be with me the whole time of the Olympics.
Second round. Russell finding this man a bit awkward.
The 70s was a difficult decade for Irish boxing. The regular flow of medals at Olympic Games and European Championships dried up as the powerful nations of amateur boxing became ever more professional and scientific in their approach.
And he's caught, and back he goes into the ropes.
The gulf between what was happening in Ireland and the Eastern Bloc countries in particular was getting wider.
Yes, a unanimous win there for Peter Lessov. So out of the championships goes Hugh Russell.
Hugh, I think at that stage was working at the docks. He was working on, I think it was a shipping company. But I think that was one item that Hugh lost his job over the head of training and boxing, because this is the problems our lad had was trying to get off work.
Like, I had to hold down 2 jobs, train, right, and help my mother get along, because I was the eldest of 10 kids.
Anything we had to do within Ireland on an international base was done purely voluntary, and I think we did very well for that. But when you come up against the Russians, or you come up against the Cubans, you know, you just it's virtually impossible. It was virtually impossible to beat these guys, because they were professional amateurs. They were being trained professionally. They were training every day and being paid to do that.
Despite this chronic lack of cash, Ireland's merry band of students, soldiers, bricklayers and pot washers would routinely don the green of the IABA and set off for far-flung rings to take on the best of the Europeans or the Americans.
We boxed in Yankee Stadium in New York first, and then we went on to fight in Boston. Well, I tell you, it was a dream come true for me, because I didn't know what it was like to go to Ballybunion, to mind go to America. When you met up with the team that morning, the manager would give you a tracksuit, go in there to the toilet and put it on you, and come back out with it on. And when he counted all the tracksuits that he was at to give it out, and then when you get off the plane, he count them again, take them back off you again.
You'd go in and you'd look at the opposition, you'd be looking around to see which guy am I fighting, you'd be trying to pick out a guy that's roughly the same size as you. But you see the muscles bulging out of him, and you're thinking, geez, he couldn't be the same weight as me. Do you know, but he was, and that's because they had the high performance coaching staff and doing the conditional work and everything with them, do you know, the dietitians and everything, so they were spot on. Whereas we were eating whatever your man put up on the table, and that's the way it was, you know.
We were living in the Stone Age, and actually remember we went to a beautiful place in Kerry to train to acclimatise and everything to get ready for the Korea Olympics. You know, when I think back on it, it was funny, prepare on our own, and the way we've advanced and changed now. Yeah, we were a third world country in that respect. Our top athletes were in America training and preparing with the best in the world, and but the rest of us as boxers, and we always had some very good talented lads, but we weren't getting the proper preparation.
By the time the Olympics were staged in Seoul in 1988, things had begun to change. The Cuban coach Trotman Daly was brought in, and the Irish team had in its ranks 2 up-and-coming fighters, Wayne McCullough and Michael Carruth.
Trotman wasn't really liked by the guys, you know what I mean? They brought us into training camp down to Kerry, and we stayed in a hotel down Stagford down in Kerry, and we were brought into this 6-8 week cycle of getting ready for these European Championships. And what he done to us was unbelievable. Like, he just killed us, you know what I mean? But it brought us to a level that we felt, you know, we're going to be able to compete with these guys. The Olympics is always the pinnacle. It's always the thing every amateur boxer wants to get to. And if they say they don't, well, they're lying. I think it was about 2 weeks before my 21st birthday that I got the phone call, and boy God, we jump all over the place. And there's nothing better, because, you know, at that time you were picked by your peers to go and represent your country. I was twice senior champion. I'd won a couple of multi-nations, and now I got picked to go.
Before setting off for Seoul, the Olympic Committee of Ireland made the controversial move of asking Wayne McCullough, a Protestant from the Shankill Road area of Belfast, to carry the tricolour at the opening ceremony.
The Belfast Telegraph phoned and asked the Irish chef de mission, heard Wayne McCullough carrying the tricolour. Cool. Do you know that he's from? And Pat Hickey, who was the chef de mission at the time, now the president, said, oh, no, I didn't know that. I mean, of course he knew, but nobody asked him, listen, do you live on the Shankill Road, or do you live on the Falls Road, or where do you live? Because the people in Dublin and the rest of Ireland couldn't give it down.
Michael Carruth for Ireland, triumph for Sweden. And Carruth's gone in the opening round right at the bell.
Ireland's boxers returned from Seoul without a medal, and the IABA immediately set up a program to improve its coaching setup. It was ambitious stuff, but it received little or no financial support at the time. IABA President Brendan O'Connor and his team travelled the country and gave seminars to clubs and coaches all over Ireland.
Irish boxers were always known as being courageous, as brave fighters. Now we want to tie on to that they would also become scientific, skillful, technical boxers as well. In other words, we would add on the skills of tactics, of technique, of professional conditioning, of mental fitness onto their fantastic foundation of the courage and the fighting spirit that came naturally to them anyway.
The first signs that the new system was working came in the European Championships of 1991, when Paul Griffin became the first Irishman to win gold since Maxie McCulloch's win back in Oslo in the 40s.
I was boxing out of my skin. I knew I was going to beat that Russian in the final. But yeah, it was a fantastic feeling. It didn't sink in for a while really, you know. I was a bit young to kind of, you know, realise how big of an achievement it was, because if you can remember back that time, it was 42 years since someone had won a gold medal, you know. And then me to come along and beat a Russian in the final, it was crazy, you know.
Griffin's gold in Gothenburg was all the more remarkable because the seismic changes in Europe's political makeup had swung the balance of power in boxing sharply eastwards.
When USSR broke up, we now have 15 different separate entities, where it used to be just one team. Now there's Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, White Russia, now Belarus, and on it goes. And Ireland, to compete in that sort of company, had to get their house in order. And how they did it was fantastic.
By the time Barcelona came along, things were different. There was a Cuban trainer. You had the McCullochs, the Carruths being sent to the Eastern European countries, to all over Europe for tournaments and for training camps. That was the way to win medals.
DVDsales.ie for the best in Irish comedy on DVD.
As human beings, we think that the worst possible outcome is death. As one mother said to me, "Dr. Carroll, there are worse things than dying." And I had to agree with her. People are surviving with catastrophic injuries. And yes, they're surviving, but they are not aware. The tragedy is that the vast majority of road traffic collisions are completely avoidable. That's very hard for any family member to come to terms with. And they'll always ask, why? Or if only. There's before and there's after, and there is no turning back.
Hair loss is a medical condition, and correcting this has nothing to do with being vain. Hair loss can be permanently corrected and is now accessible and affordable.
The Artenovi Clinic specializes in the FUE procedure or follicle unit extraction. FUE avoids scarring and allows you back to work in a matter of days. We deliver state-of-the-art hair restoration services at affordable prices.
I trusted my team to correct my hair loss.
I need a research assistant.
She's one of the best investigators I had. She's different.
In what way?
In every way.
Elizabeth, I want you to help me catch a killer of women.
Boss Orange, fragrance for women. Wear it with passion.
DVDsales.ie for the best in GAA on DVD.
The team that left for the Barcelona Olympics was the best prepared unit to have travelled to a major games up to that point. Michael Carruth and Wayne McCullough were back in the team for a second crack at an Olympic medal. And with European champion Paul Griffin in the ranks, the boxers departed with a real mood of optimism.
Paul Griffin having a hard time in this contest, trailing by 3 points, and he's gone.
Things just didn't go my way in 92, to be honest, you know. I had a bit of a bad experience at the Olympic Games. They stopped the fight. They shouldn't have stopped the fight.
Paul Griffin is disgusted.
The more I look at the DVD now, I even say I can't believe that they stopped that fight, you know. It was ridiculous.
After a bad start, Ireland's boxers started winning, and by the time the tournament reached the semi-final stage, there were still 2 Irishmen standing, both guaranteed a bronze medal at the very least.
Wayne and myself were building up such a great relationship with one another. He'd win, I'd win, he'd win, I'd win. We actually got to meet this guy, one of the yachts guys, and I can't think of his name, and he was talking to this Australian. Now we were behind the barriers because we couldn't get in. They'd finished all their regattas and what have you. And he actually showed us this, he won a silver medal, and I'd never seen an Olympic medal before. So I said, can I have a look at it? I said, because I know I'm going to get it, you know, but, you know, can I have a look at it? He said, what have you got so far? I said, what have you got? I said, well, we're bronze medalists. I said, we won the bronze today. And he showed me the medal. Mine was better than yours. And he had a few too many champagnes, I'd say. But I said, we're not finished yet. I said, we can still go on, I said to him, you know what I mean? And I didn't like his attitude, you know, and he was going, I said, listen, when I had hair, it was kind of golden. You know? And I said, there's only one colour goes with my hair, I said, and that's gold.
And so came Saturday, August 8th, 1992, the day of the boxing finals in Barcelona. And for the first time ever, Ireland had 2 fighters going for gold.
And the little man from Belfast knows exactly what he's got to do. Oh, the Cuban looking very assured and very composed, and he's hurt McCullough with that left.
There was blood in the eye of McCullough, and I couldn't see where a cut was.
And that really shows just how hard this man has been hitting.
But it turned out there was no cut. There was something burst underneath his eye there. A muscle, a bone, something, and the blood was squirting out of his eye. Kind of surreal, really.
Casimiro under pressure for the first time. But time ticking away from McCullough. What a great third round he's produced, my goodness.
Wayne pushed him right to the limit. Wayne was still throwing punches at the final bell. And what that showed me with Wayne was that these guys are not bulletproof. These guys are me and you. They're 10 fingers, you know, 2 legs. Everything that goes with blood goes through their veins, you know.
Wayne McCullough. Well, he's got that. 14-8. The Irish celebrate another silver from Belfast, Wayne McCullough.
2 weights later, up comes Michael Carruth to box Juan Hernandez of Cuba.
Presenting Ireland, Michael Carruth.
Getting to an Olympic final was a huge thing. The build-up back here was part of the excitement with it as well. Now I knew I was up against it. I knew, like, Juan Hernandez Sierra, you know, like, the guy had won everything. He'd won Pan Americans, he'd won world titles, you name it, this guy had won everything.
So a difficult task for Michael Carruth, the 25-year-old from the Drimna Amateur Boxing Club in Dublin, the most experienced man internationally in the Irish team.
I was as nervous as hell, you know, like, absolutely terrified.
That Saturday morning, I can remember it well because I was managing St Pat's and we were due to play in that loan in a Leinster Cup game, and it must have been the only day as a football manager when it wasn't the most important day in my life.
And Carruth is leading by 4 points to 3.
In Carruth's corner was his late father, Austin, and Nicholas Cruz Hernandez, who was a Cuban and a former Cuban coach. Now, Michael's natural instinct would be to go forward and fight. But the boy said, no, you have to restrain yourself. That's what the clever Hernandez would want you to do. And they kept him back. They kept him on a leash. And it was a perfect, technically and tactically perfect.
Well, the Irish really getting behind their man. What great support they've given Wayne McCulloch and now Michael Carruth.
The score was 8 apiece going into the last round. And as the final bell neared, the fight was still very close.
Freddie Teat lost in the final in 56 for Ireland at welterweight and lost on a split decision. Michael Carruth had a warning in the second. And that, one wonders, will it be the decisive factor in this contest? 8 points each going into the third and final round. And Carruth may just have done enough.
If someone gave me 100 quid or 1,000 quid to put on a boxer to win the gold medal, I'd have put it on him, to win the Olympic gold, you know what I mean? Because that's how fancied and strong I thought he was.
This really would be a great moment. Hernandez shakes his head. The Irish wave their flags.
We went into the middle of the ring, and there's always a thing in boxing that when you've won, the referee tends to have a good grip of you, you know. And he barely holding me, but here, hold it bloody hand, you, and oh, please let me hear this, please, you know. Lo and behold, they were waffling off in Spanish, and Campione Olympics, and I got to there, I think, you know what I mean, and I just broke away. I just went all the way around the ring and got through those ropes and then go back to the corner and give my father a hug. And look at 17 and a half, 18 years of us two trying for this and to actually do it.
The first gold medal of all time for Ireland in Olympic boxing.
It was an ambition of mine to see an Irishman win an Olympic gold medal. It could be in anything, from tiddlywinks. I know that's not an Olympic sport, but I didn't care.
Michael Carruth win a gold medal at the Olympic Games under the Drimnagh banner. It was a good feeling for me and for the family to think that, you know, this was something that your father was involved in as a seed. Being able to walk around to the house after the fight and see the madness on the street, the madness in the garden, the total joy that was about the achievement, you know, it was a great day, it really was.
I know when I stood on that podium, I was somewhere else. I was just, this isn't me, someone's in my body, and you know, and they impersonate me hopping on, I'm an Olympic champion, you know, and I'm standing on this podium, and it was shock.
The Barcelona Olympics was a huge endorsement of the IABA's new regime. Coaching structures were put in place all over the country, and the results were there for all to see. Irish boxers were now able to compete in the highly professional world of amateur boxing. Yet the sport still depended on the goodwill of volunteers, and the success at international level disguised what was still a chronically underfunded organisation.
We got a promise from the Irish government then that they would look at financing amateur boxing, and they began to pay boxers rather than throw a lot of money at it and spread it between 40 boxers. It was initially decided to give to the best boxer, spend the money on the guys that had the best chance of winning.
Nowhere was the Cinderella nature of amateur boxing in Ireland more apparent than in the West. Francis Barrett of Galway was the flag bearer for